Good morning. My name is Matthew Hamby. I'm the addressing coordinator for Map Forsyth. I was just talking with Jeff, and we were making jokes about addressing and sort of how it's like a redheaded stepchild that sort of gets passed around in different places. But here in Forsyth County, there's me and another person in my office, Gloria Alford, and it's all we do is addressing, and we're completely dedicated to that 100%. Myself and Jason Bell, will sort of be tag team in this presentation. I'll get started and then he'll pick up after I get done. Give you a little information on Forsyth County and our data. We've got 26,000 road centerline segments. We've got a master street table. So we use Esri's addressing tool. So you have to have a master street table to store all your streets in before you can actually create a street and use that name. So we've got 9,300 records in that. We've got over 200,000 address points that we have. So we maintain for Kernersville, Clemens, Louisville, of course, Winston-Salem. And the population of Forsyth County is roughly 382,000 people, and that's from the 2020 census. So what is a master address repository? So when we started this project, it's just as a show of hands, for people that do the addressing, how many of you have ever gotten a call and somebody says, I get a bill from you and it says, this is my address, and then I get a statement on this and it says, this is my address, and neither one of them match up. Okay, so we've got those two. Where they say, how do you spell my street name? Questions about addressing. And so what has happened is, that other business system, whether it's utilities, Board of Elections, tax, whoever else, is completely independent from your address database. And what the MAR is designed to do is to sync those two together so that you have an authoritative address data set that is used by other business systems or connected to your organization. This will ensure that accurate addresses are created in those other business systems so that streets are all spelled the same, the numbers are all uniform, and there's no confusion on addressing. The way we're approaching this is in 3 different phases. So the first phase is to take all of our data that's in Map Forsyth, that's all those records I showed on the previous two slides ago. We're taking that and we're running it against each other. So we take our address points and we cram it into the master streets table to make sure those match up. We take our center lines and we run them into address points to make sure those match up. About 7 years ago, Map Forsyth inherited or was given addressing from the city of Winston-Salem. It wasn't something that we've always had in-house. The city of Winston-Salem shifted addressing over to Map Forsyth, and that's where I came in, and Gloria eventually came on with us. So we didn't have any control over what we were getting. And so we started this project to clean up and repair and ensure that going forward, we would always have accurate and correct records. So to give you a little bit of what we're checking the uniqueness of the values in our records. We had an issue when we first started with white space. We got all those removed and resolved. The missing required data in fields, duplicate records, unmatched records, and unmatched elements in records. We're also looking at record inconsistencies and address inconsistencies, and we're using the platform Power BI for the reporting and checking of all this data. The next phase that we move into and that we're transitioning into right now is that we've got our data correct, and now we're taking other data sources and bringing in to check to see how bad their data is. So we've had the library, DSS, and a handful of other records in the business systems in Forsyth County. We've gotten their records, and we're using that to check right now. So the goal in phase 3 is to integrate the business system with the MAR so that when a record is created, it's checked against the MAR for the correct spelling, and that record, when they create it, has the right address inside of it. So, like I said, we're in phase 2 right now, and as I said, we're doing the library, DSS, public health, tax office, HR, and Board of Elections are coming up. So, here's my contact information if you have some questions, and I'm going to let Jason come up and he can give a little bit more information on some of the processes that, how he works those, because he's more the brains on this than I am.
Hey, everybody. So we've been working, I'm Jason Bell with Twin City Data. I happen to live here in Winston-Salem, so it makes it very convenient for me to be here. So I do appreciate you guys coming in and being a part of this. So when the requirement came up for Forsyth County, they're like, hey, we got all this data, we've got all these rules, and we don't really have any real visibility on that data. So we've been doing data work for close to 20 years, primarily based on HR data. But this was a natural fit for any kind of data manipulation that we were looking to do. And so as Matthew mentioned, the first thing we wanted to do was look at all of the existing data in the MAR. We were comparing address points to center lines and making sure that those points actually are on the center line, and making sure that, if the street name on the address point says this, it also matches the street name in the center line, and it all correlated with the master streets. So we've done all of that. We've been able to reach in, and we have a database connection into their environment. We're able to pull the data out and bring it into our cloud where we handle all the processing. Some of the requirements were really is that, Matthew doesn't need it, and I'm sure all of you don't need more to do, right? If anybody needs more to do, let me know, because there's probably nobody's going to say that. So the goal was really we wanted to just view the data and provide actionable reports. And so we've, as a matter of fact, a couple cropped up, Matthew, where we have an address point that didn't get a zip code. All right, so it's popped up in the report. We're like, oh, okay, we can go find that. So those types of information, so they surface to the top. Now the key here is it's like, okay, well, now how you've got like the public library, that is free form text. You can type anything in there, and people have. We've seen some pretty interesting things. So what we've done is we've taken the MAR data, and we've actually presented it and exposed it in an API that can be queried, and it does you can do like the type ahead, you can do that from Google, right? I think even the post office has something where you can type ahead and it will figure out what you're trying to type. That's not your data, that's their data. So we've provided this API that allows for that type of functionality for Forsyth County's data, okay? Now, what we do with that is not just the type ahead, but specifically for phase 2, is we'll take all the data from library or social services or tax, whatever it is, whatever they've got, we throw it against that API because it has some machine learning on the back end where we throw data at it and it comes back and says, well, this is your address point. This is what it's supposed to be. And then we surface that as a report, and then we can take that and say, look, tax, these records don't match ours. We want all of our people to get, when they get emails or when they get their letters in the mail, we want it to all have the same address, right? That's the goal. And then looking further, because we do have that API, if somebody is building an application in-house, they can leverage that. So at the time of data entry, they're using the data that is your data, that is Forsyth County's data. And so that is really the goal, is how do we get all of these systems to be consistent across the environment throughout the organization. And that's where we stepped in to help out. So I don't know if there's any questions or.
Now, do you have something on the website where an individual can go in and type in an address to verify it, to validate it?
Yeah, we have a address check tool on our website that people can use. That
So is that like just individual or that as well?
it's individual. Yeah, yeah.
Any more questions? Y'all done? All right, thank you.
All right.